record here now. Good. Then, so in my understanding, so we block 2 hours. If we don't need those, then that's cool. What we would like to achieve with this session is to get a deep and full understanding of the 3 ecosystems you found, how you got there, and in addition to that, give Jule some space to have a conversation with you to understand more deeply what you've been up to.
Yeah, and also guide us through the material so that we know where is what, and we can ask further questions so that we have a deep understanding of your work, yeah, and the deliverables, so that we can utilize it as effective as possible.
Okay, perfect. I actually just shared maybe a minute or two ago our file, all the materials, it's called, with YouTube. I realized I shared it only as you are now viewers, but I can change this to editors as well. The thing is, the zip file was so big, so I couldn't send it to you via email.
Could you,
So
but you should have access to the Motherland shared drive on Google. Could you put it there?
Yeah.
That's the easiest place, and Jule also has immediate access to that.
Okay, I'll put it there, just so you know. So there is everything. And yeah, now we can deep dive into everything else. But basically, internal report we made. So I think that will be very helpful for you, Jule, to really understand what we did, from research to our webinar to also ecosystems, of course. And then everything else, we also included final presentations and so on. You'll be able to see that. Yeah, now we can deep dive into ecosystems.
Yes, so we explained everything in the internal report. And we also have an Excel file that you'll have access to with the ecosystem, description of the companies, the label, how we label them, etc.
Would you mind sharing your screen so we will see better what you're referring to?
Does anybody else mind doing it? Because I feel like my internet is gonna in and out, and I was just...
I can do it.
Thank you.
Just a quick note. It says that I cannot share it with Motherland, although we have access. Whole folder, I don't know why. It says it's locked. It says folders can't be moved into shared drives yet.
Ah, okay. So that means we have to download and re-upload it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, for now I'll continue on this. So as you can see, we have the 3 main ones that we thought about. The first one is the one that we talked about during the final presentation. So basically, there is kind of themes to each of them for them to have a purpose, which explains the reason why we chose those companies. So the first one is in Kenya, and is to fight against food loss. So it is why we have a solar freeze, which is cold storage units powered by renewable energies. We have EcoDudu, a waste to value company. So those are the ones we explained already. The explanation is clear as well in the internal report. Juhudi Kilimo is doing loans for micro entrepreneurs and micro farmers. Mshamba training programs, and FarmShine, a big network for farmers, buyers, and service providers that can trade directly on the platform. So this is the first ecosystem. The second one takes place in Nigeria and has only 4 companies. Same thing, we have kind of a theme, which is actually just making smallholder farmers grow, so scaling up smallholder farmers. We have Fresh Direct. Cold Hubs is quite similar to Solar Freeze, actually. AgroHive. Sorry, my connection is kind of bad. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So yes, basically we have storage, training and knowledge to employees, as well as financing, market access, and network, as well as consulting, which is interesting for smallholder farmers in order for them to scale up. And it all takes place in Nigeria. And the final one is within the webinars are the ones that we felt were very engaged and which could digitally work together and or represent some kind of prototype of an example of companies that could work together in one country, for instance, or like this, or if they can engage, that could be interesting to focus on, to have their inputs into how to create it in different countries with similar companies, something like this.
So I would like to dive a little deeper on the reasoning behind the selection and the topic, and maybe I missed it. I didn't see URLs for the companies now in this. So
Sorry?
Yeah, some of them have it, some of them don't. We'll fill that out now.
Yeah,
that would be great. That would help.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
you can directly
Yes.
click on it.
We have all of them in the database. Let's
Yeah.
just forget for this. Sorry.
Hmm?
So to give another spin on Sebastian's question, could you run us through the thinking behind these ecosystems? How did you come to the conclusion that it would be a good idea to put those together?
Well, for instance, for the first one, which is basically the mindset that we had for all, but it was to stay into one country to make it feasible, first of all. So trying to reduce to one country first, then to see within the labels, the ones that could work together. So when analyzing all the smaller database that we had, the ones that we thought were more impactful, looking at which ones were ecosystems, innovative, which kind of innovations, which kind of knowledge. And from there, we wanted at least one innovation or two, one that was already working with financing, with market access, one a little bit more about training and education. And if there was a network, that was great as well. So we tried to mix it up so that we have a little bit of everything within one ecosystem and within one country. But looking at this, we then looked at what they do, and to make it feasible, we thought that it was important for it to have, as I said, kind of a theme, like something that they can all work towards, a goal that they all have and that they can all do together. So that's why for the first one, it's especially against food loss, because in a way they can all contribute to this. Yes, I think that was mainly the guidelines that we've had.
Yeah, also maybe to add on that, we knew from the research and also the interaction we had with the partners that market access and financial access are the biggest challenges. So we always try to combine all of this inside the ecosystem. And trying to add some companies that were working on the specific issues, like for example, when you see in Kenya, Solar Freeze or EcoDudu, they're working on doing something with waste or offering cold storage for the farming products. which is not something that this company has. But we didn't have direct contact with all of these companies, so we don't even know exactly how they implement their solution on the ground. But this is all from like a theoretical perspective, and based on what we saw on their website and the analysis we made from these companies. But we didn't contact them directly in order to know, for example, maybe one of the ecosystem has some kind of cold storage, but we don't know about it. It's all based on what they publish on their website.
Can you maybe share which companies you had direct communication with?
So here on the third ecosystem, these companies were part of our webinar.
It is also listed on some other documents, all the ones that were present in the webinar, all the ones that replied to the survey, etc. And for the two first ecosystem, the majority also replied to the survey. So we know they're already quite engaged with us, which was also the reason behind choosing some companies over others.
All right, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, we can see if you want to see all the participants. So this is the internal report. Maybe I can guide you through it, so you get a better sense of how we did the project.
Yeah, and with that, we can also explain, because I think what was the most important, now you look only at the final result, but for us, it was really important to come to what ecosystems for us mean under the label, what innovation is, and what knowledge is. So this we already presented in our final presentation, and you can find detailed description what it meant to us. So from that was our guiding point. And also then we realized, okay, we really see the best and probably most impactful solution in one region or one country. So that was the second reasoning. That's why it was Kenya. And then we just kind of combined what they're doing, what Marie and Valentana explained, so that it has a red thread through the then new ecosystem. That makes sense.
Yeah. And yeah, maybe we can go through the report, and then we can comment on that.
One question. So we had this post-harvest value chain. You also improved. Is there any connection between the selection of the startups and the post-harvest value chain map?
Yeah, well, when we look at the ecosystem, for example, we knew from the post-harvest value chain we made that storage was a problem because they're losing the products during this phase, and some of the companies, for example, Cold Hubs, they advertise that when they provide their products to farmers, they raise the shelf life of product from 2 days to 21 days. And this in our post-harvest value chain map, it corresponds to at least 2 of the subcategories for the storage category. And we try to, having the map in mind, we try to select companies that were solving the most problems possible. But again, I think the most important is that now we have a selection of initiatives, and we also have them classified by countries, so that you can look and see. For example, for Kenya, we have about 15 initiatives in total. So you can also, we can also add companies, or
sure.
And that's also something that I think need to be thought about, is how open you want the ecosystems to be. You want to set the ecosystems and say, okay, these companies, we're going to try to make them work together, or we're also open to other companies joining later on and potentially improving the already existing ecosystem.
Yeah. So from my perspective, the core idea, or the fundamental idea behind an ecosystem is to bring together the complementary parts to really create change in the end, because it's not only one thing, for example, education or cold storage, but as you try to bring together, these are the complementary parts to make a system change, right?
Mhm.
And yes, there should be, if we start an initiative or look, there will be probably more. But what helps us to understand is that the reasoning, how those selected companies fit in a complementary way together. Yeah, because you deep dived into that, and there is probably some valuable reasoning behind that, and this is important to understand, because that's what we need to learn.
Mhm.
Yes, and if I can just jump on the value map, it was really important for us as a first step to work towards labeling the companies. So when we see the labels, ecosystem, innovative, knowledge, etc., for us, it really this work was based on the first value chain. So it was very important, and even if it's not represented by value chain here, the label is actually taking into account the value chain a lot, because that's how we saw if they were concentrating on something more specific and they were more innovative, or if they really tried to work on financial access, market access, etc. In that case, it was more ecosystems. And so that's how we try to, as you said, Sebastian, try to have a complementary scheme in each ecosystem.
Okay, thank you.
Could you run us through the folder and just explain briefly what the files are? Most of them are self-explanatory, but just so we have a common
You
understanding.
mean in the report, in this file?
I think in the drive.
No, in the drive, in the folder. So just show us.
Yep.
What's there.
So basically in folders that are attached in, there is database contact. So before we finally cleaned it, we exported it. So it's a bit different than it's an Airtable right now, just in case, so that you have all the contacts, because some of the companies might have been deleted. So that's that. And then webinar, where you have our main learnings and the presentation, and also chat export. That's regarding webinar. Then you have
what do you mean by unsubscribed members export?
Is that in
Database content?
Just a second, because that's maybe even from MailChimp. So unsubscribed are those who unsubscribed from our mailing list. So first in our mailing list, there were 300 and some contacts. And when we sent all the messages, these are the people that unsubscribed from Motherland. So that didn't want to be further contacted. Then subscribed are those, that the rest basically. And cleaned, just a second. And then clean, that was the final one, the final database, the last version. If it makes sense, I can rename them so that you instantly know.
No, it's fine. It's just, no, it's fine. It's just that we know what's supposed to be.
And then everything else, where you can see this campaign, this is just a report directly made from MailChimp about our messages sent. So opens, clicks, and so on, so that you can see how it was. And if you will continue to do it, you'll be able to track as well, compared to previous ones. So that's this. And then database, ecosystems, innovation, knowledge. That's our final one. Exactly. That's the everything from Airtable that is either knowledge, innovative, or ecosystem. So that's 70 companies we we cleaned it in the 70 companies. So I think that was OKR 2 or 3, right? If others from my team agree.
Yes.
Then we have ecosystems, where you will find, so the main one that we as a group agreed on, this is the Kenya one. Then you will see the selection of 3 that were just presented, so also including the ones that participated in the webinar, and we did an ecosystem from that. And then the last one is basically all the combinations, because how we started with this ecosystems is just basically writing down different combinations that made sense for us. And this is how we came then to the 3 and to 1. So that was our approach to it.
Okay, got it.
Then you have our internal report where we can guide you through it as well. Then you have our midterm and final presentation, what was presented first to Peter and then final presentation last Thursday. And then just the survey. That's the last file. From the Google survey.
Okay. Could you also add a file with access information for MailChimp and maybe other things?
Yeah,
that
that's
we should know?
already in the report. At the end of the report, it has other information. There is access to MailChimp and access to Mail. So we didn't think of anything else to add. Is there any access? No, I don't think so. Just maybe for the Miro board, for the value chain map, you can now unsubscribe. It was my mail address so that you don't have to pay anymore.
Yeah, I do it.
And the internal report file is the PDF you have here. Because I'm seeing there's a Google Doc, but there's a you didn't
We
put
just
it
we can put it as well. Our final one, what we were seeing now with Valentin sharing his screen, that's basically just the PDF we see here. But if it's easier for you to directly add it, we can also add
Yes,
Word.
Please do, yeah, please do, because then we can copy something, or it's
Okay.
easier. PDF is always hassle.
Same for the presentations. So, but there was a specific tool you use, right?
Yes, it was in Canva. So we can give you access to the presentation.
Mm-hmm.
That would be nice.
So I will add you on the presentation on Canva. And then if you go on Canva, you can have access to it.
Okay.
Okay. Jule, could you put your email in the chat so that Flor can add you as well? Yeah, so to reiterate on that, please put also the open files in there in case we need to work with those, whatever you can. Jule, do you have questions?
Yeah, it's actually a lot. So I'm sure there will be more detailed questions when I dig my head into this, but maybe it would be helpful for me to understand your way of working when you maybe give me an idea how your first ecosystem for Kenya can actually work together. I mean, I see the names, I see some details about what they do, but you had something in mind how they can actually collaborate, right? So maybe it would be helpful for me to hear how you imagine this collaboration.
I think we all thought that the first step would really be to take contact with them and see how they felt about collaborating and in what way would be the best for them, to really not impose any first thoughts, but because when we did the webinar, we really saw that they were very inclined into collaborating and working together. So we thought the best was for us to get them together in contact, to be with them, to first ask how Motherland could be useful, what would be the best way for them to be, what kind of intermediary, and the best network that could be between them.
Mm-hmm. There must be a reason why you choose those 5 companies, and out of you said 70 you had in your list, right?
Yeah.
So why did you choose exactly them?
So basically, we first wanted to have a more concise database, so from country to country, to make it feasible in a first instance and easier, and to make it work in a local manner. Mm-hmm. So that's why we chose first Kenya, because it's where we have the most initiatives in general. So once we're into Kenya, we tried to see how much ecosystem, innovations, knowledge, networks, etc. there was, to have a little bit of everything and to see how each could complement each other. It is why when looking through it, so basically there's 25, if I recall, more or less, in Kenya. When looking through them all, we can see that some kind of have the same goal, the same purpose, or can work together towards one goal. And so that's what we've done. It's having one goal in mind, which is fighting against food losses and organic losses in general. So it is why we chose those one for smallholder farmers. So to have storage, to have a longer harvest lifetime. Then we have EcoDoodoo in case there is waste, so that the waste can have some value and be changed into high protein animal feed or organic fertilizers, etc. And then the rest of them is really to target market access, financial support, network, education, and trainings. So that's basically how we've made them.
All right, thank you. This map that is just shown in the screen share is really helpful. So I really get an idea how you came to this now. Mm-hmm. And yeah, thanks for explaining.
Thank you.
Sorry. Maybe I just want to add on your question. I think it's useful for you to know that all the initiatives that we selected for the ecosystems did not always reply to the survey or participate in the webinar. So some of them, they're not really aware that we exist, or they're not, well, I mean, they're aware because they got somehow in the database, but they didn't say that they would be willing to participate. So there is still a work of getting in contact with them and seeing if they're interested in participating.
Okay.
And well, I mean, I think the choice can also be made differently, and you can really deep dive into like a specific country to see all the initiatives we shortlisted, and see, because as we said before, we didn't contact all of them directly, and we based our selection on what they publish on their website. So maybe by contacting them, you can get more information about which one is better advanced or would be more useful to complement with another initiative. Or
yeah, good. Just thank you that you add that. So.
And also maybe a point to add. So we don't have so many innovative or ecosystem whatever in South Africa. And I know that from our partners in Africa, we got a lot of them are coming from South Africa. So maybe a second part could be to either inspire from like ecosystem in the rest of Africa, or try to find more contacts in South Africa to develop an ecosystem in South Africa. Because we've got people on the ground, it can be easier to like make things move a bit more.
Yeah, definitely. We anyhow going to check that out. Yeah, but we're also going to reach out to the other, let's say, low-hanging fruit countries where we can really change something. But probably the first prototype will be built in South Africa. The Google Forms from the survey, I just see the CSV file. Can you maybe also share the form and the representation of the results of the form as well? Or is it somewhere in the eternal report or where you have the, I don't think so. So from Survey Motherland, there's now just a CSV, and if you can share the directly the form, then that would help.
Okay, we just need to add your email address, or?
I think so. You just add us as a
okay. Yeah,
contributor or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to open one more question again. I posed that question last week, but since I was in the context of the final presentation, I acknowledge that that might have been the wrong place, but I really am curious to hear some critique on what we're doing here, because that is our basis for learning. And I'm not sure there is, but I have the feeling there should be. So that's what I'm really curious to hear from you guys.
Well, I can go. So last time you mentioned that you wanted radical feedback on the project.
That's the only way we learn.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good how far it went for now, and yeah, I mean we already mentioned some criticism, but I think for me the main point in the overall project is to really make sure that people on the ground really see things the way you guys see it, because you mentioned the view about it's very big. The vision is very big, and I think you need to make sure that people on the ground will also accept it and see it this way, and want the change that you're talking about when you mentioned the monetary system and new ways to exchange, new ways to have economic relationships between each other, and how this would work on the ground. Because I feel like some initiatives they hear, well, they're solving problem for farmers, but they're here to develop, and the way they see it is the traditional way of doing business, and they're not thinking of having a higher purpose than helping smaller farmers producing more food and being able to feed their family and putting their child in the school, and I think that way there would be no disappointment on either part, and I think it can bring more strength to the project as well.
Yeah, thank you, Valentin, for sharing this. So I agree that this is kind of a thing we need to have in mind, because going really to the people in Africa and telling them the vision, they think this is not the problem we have. we need to really feed our family and have way different challenges. And right now, maybe we don't care so much about how this is achieved. And this is a long process. And this is also my experience in Africa, that there is a huge gap, and the gap could be a problem in ways of getting the people really engaged and see kind of pain relief or really a solution to their challenges. And this needs to be bridged, because otherwise it's really academic, from our perspective, but it's not really down to the ground of the people that are standing with bare hands and barefoot in the dirt, working as a smallholder farmer, or try to find some decent food on an African market.
Yeah, and I think that's true. And in this sense, I think it would help to make it more concrete for them what it means exactly. And if you have examples of, if you can show them examples of the system that you envision, or if it doesn't exist because you want to create it. I don't know if you have examples of this kind of system that you envision that already exist. Or
No, I would say no.
okay.
I haven't seen, so there are ecosystems builders, yes. But usually they're focused on building one ecosystem and not on building an ecosystem as a prototype for scale. I haven't seen that.
Okay.
Do you think we're crazy?
Well, if I have to be radical, I think you have a big vision, and I think I don't think you're crazy. I think you're idealistic and optimistic as well. And I think that, yeah, well, you're really tackling a big problem, and therefore you need to put big means behind it, and really drive the vision that you want to implement. And I think the people you're working with, they need to feel that you're kind of the leader of this and bringing this forward, showing them there is another way of doing things, and this is how we're going to implement it. I don't know everything. I want to work with you guys. And we're all going to do this together, but for now, this is what we need to do, and you'll see this is going to work. And yeah, I think, yeah, big vision for me is like big involvement required.
And if I can, oh, sorry.
Yeah. Well,
if I can jump on this, I really agree. I think the idea is great, and it doesn't matter to be a little bit too positive or utopian. It's good, and it can bring a lot of things and a lot of engagement. But it really needs to be collaborative with the people there, and maybe doing it from here with no real idea of how they feel about it, and not having real conversation with them, or just small ones is maybe not enough. Being there to really know how things are done, what would be the most useful, how they could collaborate, and how they feel they need to collaborate, and for what purpose. I'd say for me is the most important thing, to not feel like we have an idea here in Europe that we want to develop there just to try it out. Because if they don't have the exact same purpose in mind, like the big picture, maybe maybe in that case it's good to ask ourselves why in Africa, if that's not their purpose. and they don't have maybe the same vision of a global picture that much. Maybe if they don't have the same purpose right now, it's great that they try to be sustainable and they all want to be sustainable. But if the larger purpose of not collapsing and of changing the entire economy is not there, maybe it's because we don't have the same vision, because we know how Europe is going. But in that case, maybe, yes, maybe asking ourselves why Africa and why not starting here with small sustainable companies, startups, etc., that can't really scale up because of the price, because of different market reasons. Maybe this is also somewhere to begin with, to know that you can do it where you are first and then apply it somewhere else as well. So
just to comment on both of you. So I agree, as I said before. So I think that's why it's really key now to get on the ground, yeah, and work with people that have know-how on the ground, and really, yeah, build this prototype, yeah. And I think for this, it's good that the core team has the perspective of the vision, yeah, because this is giving us guidance if we are on the right track, and we can validate the core hypothesis of what we do and what we believe in. Yeah, but in the end, this is not so much of the driver of the smallholder farmers and the normal people on the ground. Yeah, because this is really kind of an academic and luxury problem which they have. And I was in Africa, and I can really see that for us and the core team in Africa, it's important to have the vision. Yeah, but on the other hand side, it has to be now really, really practical, hands-on, and the will to be humble and nimble, yeah, to work with the people and learn what really matters to them and how does that fit into the trajectory we are imagining. Yeah, and this has to be the core, because otherwise it's just another think tank type of activity. We know how the future should look like, yeah, but we have no plan of getting there. Maybe here in Europe, but probably not in Africa, because yeah, this is different scenario than in Europe.
Yeah, if I may add, I mean, yeah, basically we discussed it already as a group. So I think both Valentin and Marie really summed it up good. And it's great what you're doing. And it's very good to be fortunate in the way as you are, that you can be involved in this project and be the lead of this project. And be the drivers of the change. But I think it's also very important to, okay, have this vision, but also have milestones. I think that's very important to kind of break it down and narrow it so that it becomes more real and that people can see progress. Also with smaller things you do, because the vision is, yeah, very, very idealistic. And so that even if it doesn't work for years and years, you still have smaller accomplishments that can build up to something bigger, and not necessarily fully in line with your vision, but that they still make progress. I think that's very important. And what I meant with this, that you are fortunate enough to drive this project, I think we were involved full time, and you are involved full time with thinking and how to go with it, but you are not involved full time with actual job. So I think that's something very important for the future, that you have, because for us it worked so well in the full-time phase because we were a team. That was very important, and we were lucky to have this complementary set of skills, that we accomplished something in such a small time. And I think it's also going to be very important to have a team and create a team so that it's not only you two and Julie, but it's really someone else that is really committed to it full time. Really, that's what we talked about, and that's what's very important to us. So of course you cannot be in all places at the same time, but someone has to be. That's a takeaway.
Absolutely.
I think.
Agree.
I think like Nari, Valta, and Lisa summarized it well, so I don't have something that comes to mind to add. Just like, yeah, I agree with everything they say, like, and good luck with it, because it's like, it sounds difficult. But yeah, no, I think you're not crazy. It's a beautiful project, but yeah, it's just gonna take time, and you need means to at least achieve half of your ambition for this project.
Yeah, this is the next step. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why we are
And the lack
shifting
of
gear
mi-
now,
the la-
yeah, and preparing for the foundation to onboard a team, yeah, and really work until the end of the year on this with feet on the ground. Yeah, so this year will be all about execution and learning. And so I think this is really what it should be all about, and less about a theory. Yeah, and so I think this is it. Yeah, and that's why we need to bring now supporters and funds on board to hire this team, and having really a professional team where we can also spend as much time as possible on that to support the team to make it really work and be close with our bare feet on the ground as well to really see it, because as I've
Focus on bear.
and endeavored before running a project in Africa, it's different when you're sitting in your office in Berlin than standing in the red mud in Kenya with the farmers. This is different. So I'm absolutely aware of that. So that's why I think it's good to have the high commitment by Waynand, yeah, and Herman, and also Lebo in South Africa. Who offered to do whatever necessary to get even more network, especially to funding sources and entrepreneurs in South Africa. So that's good. So I think we will going to see hopefully a lot of open doors, and then we need to materialize that as soon as possible. Yeah, because the longer it takes to have a team, yeah, and really low-hanging fruits where we can achieve something, where we can see, okay, we are getting closer towards the vision, even if the vision is light years away, but we need to do the little steps now.
Yeah, I think we're coming to closing, unless there's something somebody wants to offload right now, right here.
Yeah, maybe just for Yule, that's gonna keep working on the project. The report, you can go over it, and at the end, we also write some recommendation on how to use the work we made for future progress. So there's also suggestion on what you can start working on, and how you would better get into the project.
Great, that's good to hear. Thank you.